people are emotionally attached to having. And they're called Bane Chaya, Bane Chaya Mizone, okay? They are children, which can also be translated as relationships. Okay, Bane, those are relationships in our life, fundamental. There's our life, our health, which is our physical health as well as our mental health. And then there's our parnasa. It's our cash flow, okay? So we're now going to approach what's the approach to conquering sadness when I'm lacking in these areas, right? This is no longer sadness over transgression, over sin, like we were talking a moment ago, but this is over Bane Chaya Mizone, children, health, and livelihood. What do I do when I'm having sadness over lacking in one of these main areas? So we learn from Mishnah Brachos, a person is obligated, okay, it's incumbent upon them to bless God for misfortune in the same way that he blesses God for good. So this is really talking about the idea of accepting misfortune joyously, with the same joy that you would have if you had manifest good. Meaning, like, Gamzu Latova, this too is for the good. I heard from Rab Ashken that it doesn't just mean, like, okay, like, whatever, it's fine. It's like, this is the best possible thing that could ever happen to me. This is the ultimate good. The same way when you get that email, it's like, it's not the answer I wanted. To respond to the same way when I get the email, the answer I want, because it's coming from the same source. That is the Amunah and the Bitachon, that this is coming from God. And therefore, this is always for my highest, best good. So now that we're on this chapter of talking about Amunah and accepting misfortune with joy, how does that come? How do we have the ability to do that? Like, what is that mentality? Like, why should I accept misfortune with good? Who said it's good? So we're going to learn that really there are two forms of good. We don't actually call something that's coming into our life from God as bad. They're just two forms of good. And they're emanating from two different spiritual worlds. Okay? The first one is revealed good, stemming from what we call in Chassidus, Olam Deskalia, the revealed world. Okay? This looks like you're eating ice cream at the park and all is lovely dandy and like everything is smooth sailing in life. Okay? What the type of moments you put in your picture album. And then there is the concealed good, okay? Stemming from Olam Diskasia, the concealed worlds. It is such an extreme level of good that when it comes into this world is beyond our ability to perceive as good. And therefore we call it hidden good, meaning I know it's hidden good. It's coming from a higher world than revealed good. And yet it's so high that when it comes into this world, it does not come down naked. It comes down in many, many layers of clothing. And those layers that are surrounding it are there so I can receive it, but also it's hidden from me. I can't appreciate the inner good within it because it's too high for it to be manifest in this world as revealed good. And therefore, it comes more like your ice cream falling on the floor, okay? Much more extreme scenarios than that, but just so we can get the point in a light way, okay? Eating your ice cream, loving it, Olam Diskalia, the revealed good, and your ice cream on the floor is Olam Diskasia, concealed good. So these are represented by God's name. Okay, so when we talk about them emanating from the world, these different worlds are emanating from God's name. So the higher part of God, the inner more dimension of God, so to speak, is Yud and Hey, the first two letters of God's name. And that is Olam Diskasia, the hidden world. So the good that is so high, when it comes into my life, I can't perceive it because I don't have eyes to see. It's so transcendent. When it comes into my world, it looks like my ice cream falling on the floor. And then there's Vav Hey, which is the lower part of God's name. And when it manifests in this world as is expressed in my life, it's me enjoying my ice cream. It's Olam Diskalia. It's something that I can receive in my vessels as something that is revealed good. And this is the meaning of the verse. Fortunate is the man whom you, O God, chastise. Whom you, O God, admonish. Psalm 94. God's name in the verse is spelled Yud Hey, signifying Olam Diskalia. Okay, so let's go back for a moment. When we look at Yud and Hey, those are the first two letters of God's name. So when we say, like, fortunate is the man who Hashem admonishes, Hashem chastises, it's coming from, how do we spell God's name there? As Yud and Hey, the higher part of God's name. So when Hashem sends us a challenge, when Hashem's like interacting with us in our life from Yud Hey, it's a compliment. It's a deeper, more inner relationship. There's way more intimacy with God in that experience. And therefore, it's saying fortunate is that person. Challenges stem from a higher source, Good K, which is Good K of God's name. The fact that God is sharing with you a deeper dimension of himself, Yud Hey, of his names, shows on the closest of the relationship. It doesn't God forbid mean that God's punishing you and God hates you. No. Like, if Hashem were to just leave you alone, like, just give you, like, candy floss and, like, gumdrops, Right? He's just giving me Om Daskali because that's all I can handle is the Vav He of his name. The fact that God is giving me the Yud and the He of his name is giving me his innermost dimension. We're saying it shows on the closest of the relationship, and I should take it to heart as that I am fortunate. Ashrenu, that Hashem is zooming in on me. Here's like the simple analogy of like in the classroom. There's, the teacher just like leaves the kid alone. Like they're not being held to any standards, versus the kid that the teacher's like, no, like I actually like want to connect with you. I want to challenge you with this challenging question in class. I want to make sure that you really understand. Like I'm giving you my full attention. And maybe for the kid it's harder, right? It's challenging. I actually have to think. I actually have to grow. I actually have to learn. But it shows on the closeness that the teacher wants to engage with them. When we have challenges in our life, Hashem is saying, I'm with you. I want you to grow. I want you to learn. And I'm with you and I'm giving you me. So the question really, when it comes down to this, is do I want the comforts of this world, or do I want a real, raw, intimate connection with the divine? So if my greatest value is connection with the divine, I can find joy amidst the challenges that enter my life. Because as the challenges enters my life, it's not like, okay, this is throwing my life off track. No, God is my life. And God is communicating with me in a more deeper, more intimate, or more real and raw way through his name, Yud He, the letters of his name, Yud and He, which yes, are coming down in a way that's it's intense, it's tough, it's rough, like the challenge is real. And yet I can see through the veils, and I know that this is a hidden higher good, and that God is sharing himself with me, and therefore I choose that. That's the message the Alter Rebbe is giving us. Not to say that they're mutually exclusive at all. Like living Geula is we want revealed good. We want the Yud and the He, the higher dimension of godliness, coming down and merging into the Vav and K, merging into this world where the higher good is experienced in a way that tastes sweet and good to us. We want it all, right? And we're going to have it all. That is the Messianic reality. They're not mutually exclusive. And just in the times when Yud K is expressed in my life, Yud and He is expressed in my life, when I don't have the eyes to see why it's good, I just know it's hidden good, then I have to choose my value of closeness over God over my value of my physical comfort in that moment. But ultimately, in the Messianic reality, you can have your cake and eat it too. We're going to have the higher good in a way of revealed good, the Etzem Ha'or. Therefore, our sages of blessed memory taught, those who love him are like the sun going out in its strength, from Judges, referring to those who happily accept suffering. So interesting. What is the sun going out of its strength? The sun, the expression is going out of its shield. What does it have to do with someone accepting suffering joyfully? So what does happily accepting suffering have to do with the sun going out of its strength? What is this connection? The sun is way too intense for us to handle, right? There is no atmosphere around, we would not be able to handle the sun. And this is comparable to Yud and He of God's name. It's the inner dimension of godliness. It is too intense for us to palate. We can't take it without many layers of concealment, right? That's why we have like the Shem Elokim, the name of God's concealing the name of Havaya, which is the inner, more expansive dimension of godliness, so to speak. And so basically, it's a person, what is the sun coming out of its shield? Is that right now, to have Yud and He in our life, to have Om Daskasia, I need many, many layers, because like, it's too intense for me to have it, to handle it. If I just had it full blown, I would cease to exist. And so in the Messianic reality, that Yud and that He is coming out of its shield, is coming out of that, so I can see truly how it was really for my best, how it was the most revealed good of all time. I just didn't have the vessels to handle it at the time. And so those who rejoice in suffering, they say, yeah, okay, I don't understand this right now. I don't know why this is my life. I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to make fake excuses about why this is happening. That's just, blah, okay? I'm not doing that. I'm being real with God and saying, yes, this is hard. And yes, this is coming from a higher source, and therefore I'm going to accept this with joy, because I know where this is coming from. I know that you are putting this in my life, God, for a reason. And therefore that joy is like the joy of the sun coming out of its shield. Is being able to experience the higher hidden good in a manifest way that is sweet to my palate. And so those who experience that now are going to be able to experience that in Messianic reality. The experience of the sun coming out of its shield, of experiencing Om Daskalia, the Messianic reality, will only be perceivable to those who retreat in the shade. Right? So who's going to be able to experience Yud and He coming out of its shield, coming out in a way that I can actually experience it, like Om Daskalia, in a revealed way? Those who stand in the shade. Now, in the current era, they find God in even the darker experiences of pain and suffering, right? God's shade, the part of my life that is concealed, that is confusing, that are the gray areas, that like, whoa, Hashem, what's going on here? What's going on here, God? Those ones who are able to take a refuge in God and retreat in God during those darker parts of their life are going to be able to experience this full godly experience. Finding God in the shadow of suffering is made possible by using your Chachma, which allows you to connect with God's Chachma in the unmanifest world, right? Olam dis skasya, which is the Yud of the Tetragrammaton. So when we say the Yud of Hashem's name, of Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey, we're talking about that Yud is God's Chachma, it's Chachma Ilah. And so connecting to my Chachma, which is not Chachma in terms of wisdom and understanding, Chachma, as we talked about it, as my portal to infinity, as my dormant love of my soul, in my soul, the part of me that always remains openness. It's when you look at a bird before you call it a bird. It's just that state of being and isness, that part of me that is open, like literally an open-minded part of me. And it's by connecting to that part of going beyond my hard and fast intellect that says good, bad, good, bad. All day we honestly give ourselves headaches. Like all day we're just labeling things. This is good, that's bad. This is good, that's bad. That's bad, that's good. Like, just an openness of being able to say, okay, it's from Hashem. And therefore, it's all good. And yes, my Bina is going to say, doesn't taste good, that's bad. But before that, this openness of Chachma, of it's coming from Hashem, and therefore I'm open. I'm open to higher dimensions of reality. I'm open to just experiencing it as it is before labeling it as bad. And you can experiment this with simple things, like when something comes into your life and you're about to say, bad, don't want this, God, take it out. Just be able to pause for a moment and be like, okay, this just is. Without my label on it, it just is. So by using that power of our Chachma to just say it is, just be with it in the now, because Chachma is all about now. Therefore, we're able to be with God in the shadow, in the parts of my life that are confusing, in a place of joy, in a place of openness. The Baal Shem Tov once told an individual, accept with love everything that comes upon you in this world, and then you'll be able to have both this world and the world that is coming. And the truth is, it means that you can have them both in this world right now. Meaning I can be in this world, feet on the ground, and my experience, my mental, cognitive, emotional experience is one of manifest good. That like, I can have the next world. The next world is I'm going to see why it's good. So why can't I just experience that now? And the truth is, we can. Through knowing that this is a higher good and this is for my best benefit, why do I have to wait to celebrate later, right? If anyways, I'm going to find out later why this was for my best good, so I have to wait. No, I can experience the joy of Olam Haba, of the Messianic reality. I can experience that right here, right now, through the power of Chachma in my soul.